Hey guys, John V here from PhoneArena. Right now you're watching our video comparison between the LG G Flex and the Samsung Galaxy Note 3. It's the battle of the phablets, the best from LG versus the best from Samsung. There's a lot of cool tech in play with these two handsets. They're massive, ginormous, with some very cool looking displays, but ultimately there's going to be one that reigns supreme. So let's find out in this comparison right now. It's tough to say which design we like better, just because from the front and back they look rather conventional, and that's despite the fact that the LG G Flex has that very unique curved design. Their bodies are both constructed out of plastic, but we have a cleaner finish with the Samsung Galaxy Note 3 and its faux pas leather-like casing, giving it a sophisticated look, but at the same time we can't deny that the self-healing properties of the LG G Flex rear casing really astounds us. It might be glossy and exhibits more dirt and debris, but it's nice there's that self-healing factor with it. They're both massive in size, making them rather unwieldy to hold with one hand, but the curved nature of the LG G Flex helps it out a little bit better, as it's able to contour better to our face. And again, with those ergonomics, it helps also when we place it in our back pockets. Gotta admit that there's something cool and innovative with the flexible display here in the LG G Flex. It's a 6-inch 720p plastic OLED display on there, and with that, it's actually very strong and almost unbreakable. We're able to actually flex the device, flatten it out, and there's no damage to it whatsoever. But with 720p, it's rather dated and doesn't look quite as sharp compared to the 1080p display of the Samsung Galaxy Note 3. We can't count out the display here in the Samsung Galaxy Note 3 just because it's very impressive in many fronts. For starters, it's a 5.7-inch 1080p Super AMOLED display, and with that, it's able to produce a lot more crisp looking text and visuals than the G Flex's display. At the same time, it has the better viewing angles as well, and the nice thing about it, there's also some tech involved with the display that's pretty impressive, such as being able to track our finger as we hover it over the display. Around their trims, they pretty much feature the same set of ports and buttons. For example, you have 3.5mm headset jacks, you have their standard microphones, noise cancellation microphones, and also LED notification lights. It's in the back here with the LG G Flex, and of course it's on the front with the Note 3. You have a micro USB 2.0 port in the LG G Flex versus the newer standard of 3.0, so you get faster charging and data connectivity with the Note 3. The Note 3 also features a useful S Pen stylus, again, that kind of adheres to those power users for productivity purposes, and they both feature IR blasters. It's in the back here with the LG G Flex, whereas it's in the top with the Note 3, turning them both into universal remotes. And finally, we have their respective cameras. Now, the neat thing about it is that they're both 13 megapixels in size, feature autofocus, but you have 60 frames per second recording with the LG G Flex. But then again, the Note 3 is able to capture video in 4K resolution. These two handsets have a lot in common with their software experiences. Now, you have Android 4.2.2 Jelly Bean running in the LG G Flex currently, whereas with the Note 3, it's running a newer build, Android 4.3 Jelly Bean. But as a whole, it has the same core functions that we find on all Android smartphones, and heck, even some of their features, their presentations, are also identical. LG has made some considerable improvements with its software experience, and it shows that it's also rich with a variety of different features and functions. But of course, Samsung is able to perfect and even refine the experience here at the Note 3, and overall we just find that it has more practical features that are more useful than what the LG G Flex has to offer. The experience on the G Flex isn't bad at all. It's just not as diverse compared to the touch-rich nature UX experience running in the Samsung Galaxy Note 3. Now, we appreciate many things about it. For example, you have the Q-Slide applications in conjunction with the Slide Aside feature, and even the new one here with the G Flex, the dual window, where we're able to actually have two applications running at the same time just to offer a better multitasking experience. And on top of that, you have other things like the Q Remote feature that turns it into a universal remote. Now, the Note 3 has pretty much the same set of features, but a lot more. So for example, if we go into the gallery, we could rely on the various air and hover gestures to actually interact with some of the content here. And again, that's all done with the experience. So as we hover over the content, we're able to preview stuff. And if we just wave over the display, we could actually go back and forth between different things. The Note 3 even has that cool eye tracking feature with the web browser, so essentially we could scroll vertically by just using our eyes and tilting the device. And finally, there's also the neat feature of the S Pen Stylus. It just adds to its arsenal, and again, this is something that will really appeal to productivity users on the go. We're able to jot down notes, and with the S Pen itself, it's pressure sensitive, so if you love to draw, it'll even be able to differentiate different levels of pressure. Like we said, LG has done a fantastic job in enhancing the experience with the LG G Flex, but still doesn't quite rival the completeness that we find with the TouchWiz Nature UX experience running in the Note 3. They're actually both powered by the same chipset, a quad-core 2.3 GHz Qualcomm Snapdragon 800 CPU with the Adreno 330 GPU, but with the G Flex, it's only packing 2 GB of RAM versus the 3 in the Note 3. It's using the same processor, but yet it has a little bit more RAM than G Flex, but we still notice just some slowdown and lag with the performance out of the Note 3. It's not that bad at all for most basic tasks it's able to handle with ease. When it comes to being a speed demon, the G Flex has no shortage of being that. It's just the snappiest device out there and far more consistent with its performance when compared to the Note 3. Both basic and complex tasks it handles with a lot of ease and very minimal with slowdown and lag. As expected, the web browsing performance out of the two handsets is just top-notch. They handle complex web pages with ease. But it's worth noting that if you plan on importing the LG G Flex from Korea, it doesn't support any of the LTE bands here in the US. We don't find one music player to be more appealing than the other, nor is there one that offers more features too. When it comes to the audio quality, they're also identical on this front. They produce some commanding tones with minimal distortion at the loudest volume setting. If you're a hardcore shutterbug, you're gonna fall in love with the camera apps on both these devices just because they give us a lot of manual controls so we can adjust things like the brightness, the ISO, and even the exposure if we want to. In addition to that, they're also outfitted with an array of very cool looking shooting modes. It's a battle between the 13 megapixel cameras. That's what these two are packing along, and honestly, the qualities are pretty much identical to one another in all lighting conditions. They take some amazing looking shots with their cameras filled with a lot of great detail. They're properly exposed. They handle dynamic range as well. And the only noticeable difference that we see is just the color reproduction. It tends to be a little bit warmer with the LG G Flex versus the cooler tones put out by the Note 3. Likewise, we're kind of split with their 1080p video recording quality. Now, the Note 3 as a whole has a more consistent look just because it's a lot sharper looking, has a good amount of crispness with its shots, whereas with the G Flex, it seems to be a little bit more subdued with its details, so toned down, and it's also more prone to some artifacting elements when we're panning very quickly, but nevertheless, both are wonderful. The G Flex has just a little bit of an artificial sound with audio recording, but it's nice that it moves at 60 frames per second, giving it that flowy look. But then again, we can't count out the fact that the Note 3 has the ability to shoot videos in 4K resolution. Call quality goes to the LG G Flex just because it's excellent in all fronts. The earpiece and speakerphone are just loud and clear, whereas with the Samsung Galaxy Note 3, it tends to have a little bit of a crackling sound with the earpiece at the loudest volume setting. So far, all the phablets we've checked out tend to give us a good amount of battery life, and these two don't disappoint just because they're able to deliver us with all-day battery life. We can't deny the fact that there's some cool innovation going on with the LG G Flex, like its flexible plastic OLED display and the self-healing properties with its rear casing. However, once we overlook those qualities and look at the smartphone from an overall perspective, we begin to notice that it still doesn't quite meet the totality that the Note 3 has to bring to the table. With Samsung's offering though, we get the total package with the Note 3. It's a high-end spec smartphone from head to toe. It performs swimmingly in a variety of key categories, but the biggest differentiator here is just the software experience, how more diverse it is compared to the G Flex, and on top of it, all the added benefits that come with the S Pen Stylus. When we're looking at pricing though, we still get a little bit more value out of Note 3. So if we take a look at their outright cost, $750 for the Note 3 versus $940 for the G Flex, you're still gonna get a little bit more value out of the Samsung Galaxy Note 3, though the justification is there with the G Flex, the higher cost associated with its innovative qualities, of course. So if you guys want to learn more about either device, you can check out our website, PhoneArena.com. John V. Thanks for watching.